Hi, I'm Erin,
And I'm Elizabeth.
and today we're going to talk to you about how you can use things like cups, chairs, and rubber bands to learn about physics in your house or your apartment or wherever you may be. So, we picked cups, chairs, and rubber bands because we're hoping you can find these things where you live. So, if you have rubber bands, spinny chairs, cups, and liquid, hopefully you can try these things along with us. A hair tie will work as well as a rubber band, so get creative with what you can find.
So first we'll introduce the concepts of pitch and frequency. What do you guys think pitch is? Maybe you can take a minute and discuss with whoever is around in your house. So pitch and frequency, or pitch means higher and lower sounds. And now you can think about what is frequency and how these might be related. So frequency is the number of vibrations per second. So you can see in this figure that a high frequency means that you have more of these wiggles in the waves in some interval of time compared to the low frequency on the bottom. And these correspond to high pitch and low pitch respectively. So now we'll demonstrate these concepts using water in cups. So we'll be able to change the pitch and the frequency by changing the level of water in the cups. And as you can see in the picture, this will change the number of oscillations in the sound wave.
So now we're going to demonstrate the cups with actual cups of water. We put food dye in because food dye is always fun to play with. So remember how if you have more empty space in the cup, you can fit more wavelength and more frequency in there, right? So it's going to be a higher tone for more wavelength. As you reduce the space in the cup, you're going to get less, so the pitch should go down. But let's see if that's the truth, right? So that should be higher, and then we have less space, so that should be less. Yeah, so see, we can prove that. And you can do this at home with your own cups, or you can do it if you have a crystal goblet. You can stick your finger in and circle it around like that, and it'll make a really pretty noise, much prettier than a knife on a cup. So now we're going to talk about pitch and frequency in respect to rubber bands. So with a rubber band, how do we change the frequency of the sound it makes when you strum it? I'm sure you've all played with a rubber band and strummed it. So now we're going to talk about how we can change the pitch and frequency of a rubber band when we strum it. So I'm sure you've all played with a rubber band before to hear what noise it makes when you strum it. So how can we change this pitch or frequency? What does changing the length do? So here we're going to show you how changing the length of the rubber band affects the sound. Now you can also see how changing the length of the rubber band affects the pitch too. So here we have a short one. So the pitch changes as we change the length of the rubber band. What does adding length do to the rubber band due to the pitch? So now you've seen how changing the length of the rubber band makes the pitch lower or higher. But how does changing the width affect the pitch or frequency of the rubber band? So here we've got 3 rubber bands of different thicknesses, and the thicknesses are going to affect the pitch of the rubber band. So what does a thicker rubber band do versus a thinner rubber band?
So now we're going to introduce the concept of inertia. So what do you guys know about inertia, or what do you think it is? Inertia is an object at rest tends to stay at rest unless acted upon by an outside force, like a cat. So what is moment of inertia? A moment of inertia is how the weight in an object changes how it moves. So for example, if you've ever watched ice skaters spin in circles, they can change how fast they spin by changing the shape of their body, either by extending or by pulling in their limbs. You can also do this in a spinning chair. So what do you think putting your arms and legs out versus pulling them in does to your speed? You'll see in this video that I will remain in the same place at rest until Erin pushes this chair because of inertia. So now we'll demonstrate the concept of inertia by having Erin spin me in a chair while I change the shape of my body from large to condensed.
Great, ready?
So now I spin really fast, and if I extend, it slows down, and I can pull back in and make it go faster again.
The last thing we're going to talk about today is density. So do you guys know, or what do you think density is? So density is basically telling you how compact the weight in an object is. So as you can see, the more weight or green dots in this box, fixed volume, the more dense a material is going to be. So if you have more mass in the same space, it's going to be denser than something with less mass in the same space. You can see this when you put an inflated object in a pool. So the water is more dense and the toys are filled with air. The air doesn't weigh as much as the water. So the toys that are filled with air float on top of the water because they are less dense. Now we're going to show you how this works with liquids of different density in a cup. So now we're going to talk about density with different things you can find in your kitchen. So here we have water. You may notice it's dyed blue from the cups video. We just colored it so you can see it a little better. This is corn syrup, which is really thick. It's got a lot of sugar in it. And this is oil that we tried to put food dye in, but because they have different densities, they didn't mix. So we're gonna see which of the water, corn syrup, or oil is more dense by seeing what sinks to the bottom and what floats to the top in a cup. So first we're gonna pour the oil in our big cup. All right, so now we're gonna pour in the corn syrup. So if the corn syrup is more dense, it will sink, and if it is less dense, it will float. So let's pour it in. Woo! Look at that. So here you can see the corn syrup is more dense than the oil. And last, we're gonna see where water falls in here. So now we're gonna pour the water in. Oop, that was messy. So here you can see water is more dense than oil and less dense than corn syrup. So you can see you can make this pretty rainbow cup. So you can do this with any liquid you find in your house. You can even try mixing sugar into water and seeing how that goes. So anyway, just remember, the least dense materials go to the top and the most dense materials go to the bottom.
Okay, so thank you guys for listening, and we hope you had fun.